streaming on YouTube.
All right, let's give Christy a minute. There she is. Let's give Nicole a minute. Okay, let's start the meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone to our regular Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, March 24th, 2020. Is there a motion to open the meeting? Motion's made by Nicole, Trustee Sullivan, second by Trustee Nell. All in favor? Meeting's open. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Before we start the meeting, I would like to make a statement, as this is the first meeting that we are having since this has happened, since the virus has happened. So on March 10th, 2020 board meeting seems like a lifetime ago, but it's only been 2 weeks and so much has changed. I've been impressed by the response of our community. As neighbors have helped neighbors, our first responders have stepped up to the challenge, continuing to serve as always. Our DPW continues to do what they need to do to keep our village clean and orderly, and our village staff, our rec department and Abby Connett, who runs the seniors programs, are taking care of our most vulnerable. I especially want to thank our village administrator, Charlene Delicato, who has literally put her health on the line for us. Without her guidance, we would not be in the shape that we are in. Clearly, her dedication goes beyond just her written job responsibilities. I also would like to thank the police and fire chiefs for staying calm, as well as acting in a professional manner. The volunteer ambulance corps has also been great and have not shirked from their responsibilities. And we should remember that the ambulance corps and the fire department are all volunteers. I'd also like to thank Alyssa Fassman, our newest employee, who's responsible for our communications. I'm sure she never thought her job would be so hectic and so relevant so quickly. So without her help, I probably still would be writing that first newsletter. So thank you very much, Alyssa. I'd also like to thank the other trustees for their support and the fantastic outpouring of support that I received from residents. Just when things seem overwhelming, I would undoubtedly receive an email from a resident thanking me for what we do. So we are truly fortunate to live in such a great place. That said, we are in a national hot zone and everyone needs to do their part to comply with the restrictions. Those who doubt that this is a serious matter and continue to meet in groups are not listening to the medical professionals and scientists who have warned us loud and clear. Please stay home as much as possible. Keep your distance when outside the house. Wash your hands often. Make sure your kids are staying home. The socializing needs to be virtual for the time being. We are trying to get information to you about where you can find resources and relief as we hear about it. Please be sure to sign up for our village emails at dobbsferry.com/signup. You can also check our COVID-19 page for resources and information. It will continue to be updated. Tonight is our first remote Board of Trustees meeting. We tried it out last night with our budget workshop, and we will continue to see what works and what doesn't in this new reality. We are suspending courtesy of the floor during this containment period. Going forward, if you want to make a comment or raise a concern, please send an email ahead of the meeting to Liz Draper, our village clerk, at ldraper@dobbsferry.com. In addition to participating via Zoom, by phone or online, the meeting is streaming live on YouTube and you'll be able to watch it there anytime. Tonight, we will be adjourning the previously scheduled public hearings to May 12th at the earliest. The only public hearings we will be holding will be those related to the budget. They will take place on April 14th and April 28th. Our draft budget will be posted on the website later this week. We welcome your feedback as we move forward with these efforts. You can always send me an email at mayorrosillo@dobbsferry.com. So thank you, everybody, and let's begin.
Mayor, can I just ask for clarification? Are you adjourning
public hearings, or are you postponing and making a decision on adjournment dates at that time?
I'm adjourning the meetings until May 12th. So
Okay,
all
so-
public hearings will be adjourned to the May 12th, 2020 meeting of the board.
Okay, so we'll be recirculating notice that all the public hearings will be held that night.
And now, if something may come up, and then we'll have to adjourn it again. What are you suggesting that we do?
No, I just wanted to clarify that there's a slight difference between an adjournment and a postponing a decision on an adjournment. I just wanted to make sure that the applicants and the public are clear for purposes of the public hearings. They will be conducted all on that night, as you have indicated.
Just the public hearings that were on the calendar for March and then April, right? It's not,
Right.
it's like, it's three or how many, which public hearings is it?
There are 3 public hearings that will be scheduled to be held on May 12th, tentatively, and then on May 12th, if the circumstances change, we will then take the appropriate action.
Okay, so tonight's 3 public hearings from tonight's agenda, the 100 Main Street, which would be an opening of a public hearing, the continuation of the public hearing on 115 Broadway, Cabrini, and the public hearing to consider the introductory local law having to do with the sidewalk cafe permits. Those are the 3 that you're adjourning to the date in May that you've indicated.
I am.
Great, thanks.
Before we go any further, I have to amend the Board of Trustee. Okay, if George is on the line, George, feel free to step in and speak. George? Maura, put yourself on mute.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
I think he might be showing as if he's muted, even though I've allowed him to speak. So I'm not sure if there's something on his end.
Okay, we'll proceed until we hear from him. So,
Oh, wait, here we go. Here he is.
Can you hear me now?
yes, we can.
Now we can.
Very good.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. I'm joined by Ellen Hendricks as well, our intergovernmental liaison who's on board. Is this a good time for me to give you a quick update?
It's a perfect time, so go ahead.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Well, I appreciate you and the village trustees taking a minute or two at time. We're in unusual times, but we just wanted to give you a quick update on where we are with the county. We do have calls every other day with the leadership of the community, mayor and a couple of other key people. Wanted to make sure everybody had a basic idea and could ask any questions. First of all, on the numbers side of the situation, we're up right now in Westchester County to 3,891 positive cases in Westchester. That's out of a statewide total of 25,000 cases. And just to put it in perspective, 3 weeks ago yesterday, we had our first case in Westchester. So we've gone from 1 up to 3,891, which is pretty dramatic increase of numbers. Now, Westchester is testing more people per capita in this county than any other county in the nation. We have the Glen Island Testing Center set up by the state. We have Westchester Medical Center has set up their own center in Valhalla. We understand St. John's in Yonkers has set up a center that's going to be operative or is as of today. And then in addition to that, we've had combinations of state and county nurses going out to do testing. Even with that, even with all the people we've tested, we have a tremendous backlog and lots of anecdotes of people waiting to be tested to find out, what the situation is. Being tested and finding out if you're positive or negative isn't the end of the game, but to know that a person is positive and then to have them isolate for 14 days to see if the virus can be fought off by the individual's antibodies and then they're not contagious is a very important process. And we have had some people go through that 14-day period and been authorized to go back out into the community, having had the full opportunity to deal with the incubated virus. But, we're in an uncharted area, as we all are, and we're trying to figure out what policy to make as we go along. Our statistics show that there are 16 cases in Dobbs Ferry right now. That number should be reflected in the share file that the mayor, the police chief, and the other emergency services people have access to. We are a few days behind the state numbers because they announce numbers and then they have to inform the individuals before they inform us as local officials. So you may know of more than these many cases, anecdotally, somebody in the community, but what we have right now is 16 verified cases, and hopefully that matches up with what you're accessing in the shared file, Mr. Mayor, as you go forward. If there is a discrepancy, we'll deal with it tomorrow offline and try to figure out where we are. Every day the numbers change. Just to run through a bunch of things at the county level. Our Emergency Operations Center is the source for all requests for PPE products, personal protection equipment, things like gloves, masks, and there's all different types of things depending on the kind of usage of the person. They have regular surgical masks. They do have N95 masks, which are fitted around the mouth and therefore more intense situations. A firefighter would use that kind of a mask when they go into a situation with a potential COVID patient. But the EOC is obviously behind trying to get this hand sanitizer. We get the stocks from the state, and then we distribute them back, and they're all being handled through the town and city government. So as a village, it's a little more difficult. The state made the decision that they only wanted to deal with towns and cities, so the requests of Dobbs Ferry has to go through the town of Greenberg. But as you have difficulties, reach out to us, myself, Mayor Jane Shimsky as your county legislator, and we will try our best to advocate to make sure you get as much as you need as fast as you can get it. But everything is slow because, again, this is all, there's no roadmap here of how we're going to operate. We have to go as fast as we can. That's our Emergency Operations Center over in Hawthorne. Our Beeline buses, as of Monday, are now operating with no fare and also with entry by the rear door. So anybody who's using a Beeline bus on Broadway, on Ashford Avenue, they enter by the rear door. They do not have to pay a fare. The purpose behind that is we rope off a few rows behind the driver so the driver does not come in contact with the passengers. That's considered essential because if the bus drivers catch the disease, get sick, and have to go out of work, we won't have enough bus drivers to run the routes. So we're going to forego the revenue that we get in order to make sure that the system still operates and that both rider and bus driver are protected as best as possible. Our county parks are still open. The trailways, the major parks that we have are open. We try to enforce social distancing. Sometimes we have some difficulties, but we're trying our best throughout the system. We have kept open our golf courses, our 6 golf courses. Some people wonder why, and that's primarily because golf is not a contact sport. And if you space yourself at the tee box and you space yourself on the green, you can avoid any unnecessary contact. We do set a rule of 1 person per cart. Hopefully these rules are being enforced and observed voluntarily as well as enforced by the personnel we have there. Unfortunately, though, we can't have larger groups. We can't have some of the ethnic events that we have. We have some over at Ridge Road Park in the town, and all of those are not workable for us. And any of our children playgrounds are also closed, and it's unfortunate, but when kids play on a playground, they touch the various, items, and we can't possibly sanitize them after every use to make sure that the next child that goes in the same place isn't touching something that might have the virus on it. So unfortunately, we've had to close that element of our operation. We are working with our economic development team. Bridget Gibbons is our director of economic development to try to serve as a clearinghouse of information for small business things. We know that businesses are hemorrhaging right now. Certainly the restaurants, bars, beauty salons, all the things that have been closed unilaterally are suffering mightily, and we hope that the feds will come up with an incentive package that will help bail these groups out. But we don't know. I know they're working on it now, but from our standpoint, there are a couple of programs in effect. And then also if a business wants to argue that they are an essential business and should not reduce their workforce, we have some forms that can be submitted to the state will help a business person out. Sherry Asher, who's a resident of your community, is on our team, and she is our liaison with the Chambers of Commerce, and she is kept in dialogue with them. So if there's any small business with a particular situation, they can reach out to Sherry here, and we'll communicate and try to be helpful if we can. But we don't have all the tools we need because this this drop in the economy is widespread. It's everywhere. We're facing a free fall in our budget, and I'm sure it affects your budget negatively too, as part of the process. We have the hotline in effect, 211, for people that have information questions. We get 1,200 calls a day on that line, so you can imagine there's a wait, and there's a certain amount of frustration when people want some specific information. They're often referred to the state hotline to sign up for testing, which, even though we've had more testing than anybody else, we're still behind in testing. And the general rule of thumb, if somebody asks, I think I may need a test, the first thing they do is call their family doctor, the person that normally does their medical assistance. Hopefully, that doctor will be able to understand through what you describe as your symptoms as to whether or not they write a prescription for you to get a test. And then on the queue line that exists, we're trying to get as many of these people through as possible. As I've mentioned, there's a bunch of different ways that testing occurs, but the demand for testing far exceeds our ability to perform it. And when you look at these national numbers and you see very low numbers in other states, that's because they're not testing at all. And unfortunately, if this tsunami, the surge as it's called, hits us, the states that have not tested at all are going to be caught unawares. They won't have raised their capacity in the hospitals and gotten all the equipment that need to have, because they don't see a lot of cases. They don't assume it's hit them until it actually hits them. For our purposes, we know that we face a real challenge. Just to give you an idea what that sounds like, we have 3,000 hospital beds in Westchester County, and we have 160 ICU beds. If we have 20% of all the people with a case winding up needing hospitalization, let's use our current number of 4,000. Well, 20% of 4,000 is 800 people. That's a lot of people. Right now, with 3,000 beds, we'd be okay. But if that number doubles and triples at the same percentage, then we start to overtax the system. That's why we've offered up to the state creation of the Westchester County Center as a temporary hospital site. They'll be able to fit additional beds there. How many? I don't know. That's the state DOH, Department of Health, is doing the work on that, and we'll see how that plays out. But we get these kind of questions on the hotline. We try to answer them, as best as we can. We've made an outreach for more nurses, those who may be retired, physician assistants, doctors, and we have an email address, lajc@westchestergov.com. Lindsay Jackson on our team is the person who's collating that information, getting the details of a person's skill set, providing that to the state. So when we get to this surge that we're fearing, we'll have bodies available, and we'll try to work around the individuals and their interest and their needs. I'm going to stop at this point rather than bombard you with more. Mr. Mayor, if there are any questions from the group, I'm happy to answer it. The most important thing is that we're trying to work as partners to Dobbs Ferry and all the villages and all the towns. We realize that there are jobs that we have, such as enforcing some of these executive orders and maintaining social distance. And there are things that are outside of our control. Neither you nor I can figure out how to put more ventilators in hospitals, and we're going to have to trust that the state and the feds are doing that so that we're ready if this thing gets to be worst case scenario. If it doesn't, if this thing does not turn out to be a disaster, we'll have to rebuild the economy, but that's a lot better task than having to deal with the potential loss of life.
Well, thank you for taking the time to visit with us and provide us this information. Charlene and Delicato and I have been attending your phone call meetings every other day, and we find them to be really informative and helpful. One of our main concerns was the speed of which, especially our first responders, were getting tested. But I've been informed by the chief of police and the chief of the fire department that they have been able to get tested quickly, and the results have been coming in quickly. So that has not been an issue for us. And of course, getting the masks and the necessary equipment, the ambulance corps and the fire department have been concerned with that, but I know that we do have to go through the town. So we are working on that. So thanks again for that. And I don't know if any of the other trustees have any other questions for George.
Anybody?
I guess not. So maybe.
Well, listen, I appreciate you all taking the time, and we hope you're all safe and have a good rest of the meeting. Reach out to us as you see fit.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Does anybody have any comments that I'd like to discuss now, or we can save it for the end of the meeting, or anybody? Okay. So for now, what I like to do, what I have to do is amend the agenda. We're going to add 2 items to it. So I need a motion to add to the agenda a resolution exempting first responders from FMLA time caps. So is there a motion to amend the agenda accordingly? Mike Patino makes it, second, Donna Cassell, all in favor? That passes unanimously. Liz? And the second item we're going to add to the agenda is a resolution authorizing the village administrator to enter into an agreement with Armor Environmental Solutions. So is there a motion for that? Trustee Nell, second. Trustee DeRozzi, all in favor? Okay, and that passes unanimously, Liz. Okay. I do have one person has submitted something for courtesy of the floor in effort to make these meetings more efficient. We have suspended that, but residents are encouraged, if they have anything to add or would like to be read, they can do so by submitting it by 3 o'clock on the day of the meeting. I have something from Patty, and I'm going to read it. He has written, "These are truly trying times."
Do you have to say his name and his address like he would?
If I knew his address, I would say it, but it's from Patty Steiner, and he's on Broadway. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
He has written, "These are truly trying times, but in spite of the anxiety that comes with the monumental changes in all of our daily lives, as well as the justified fears that come with the pandemic, we also see remarkable strength, caring, and resilience within our community. It has been remarkable to see the village as a whole, from the mayor, the board of trustees, and the village administration work tirelessly as a team to build community awareness and craft community-wide responses. And we are grateful that Alyssa Fastman, who joined the village team at an opportune time, has served as a key liaison for the community. In theory, ensuring community awareness and building community resilience for this pandemic is no different from dealing with the impacts of an extreme event such as a hurricane or tornado, with the exception that this pandemic is nationwide and has lasting implications. Many of you are aware of how the Sustainable Task Force has been focused on responding to climate change, but what has been critical is the need to mitigate and adapt in a changing world in order to maintain a sustainable future by building community resilience. And unfortunately, I do not have the rest of that. So Patty, I will submit that in writing. I don't know, Alyssa, if you have it available. You're muted.
I do have it.
Well, how do you feel about reading after I just left off?
Okay. Patty's on the line. Should I allow him to talk and read the rest?
No, you can just read the rest.
Okay, read the rest. Okay. Sorry, let me get it.
You can start with "many of you are aware."
Okay, hold on one second. Okay. Many of you are aware of how the STF has been focused on responding to climate change, but what has always been critical is the need to mitigate and adapt in a changing world in order to maintain a sustainable future by building community resilience. We need to anticipate crises, whether these are the result of extreme climatic events or pandemics. First, we need to map vulnerabilities and then create resiliency measures for our Dobbs Ferry community. A caring community that works through adversity together is our overall goal. The Dobbs Ferry Sustainability Task Force has created a subcommittee. The STF STF-CV, and the CV stands for Community Volunteers. The STF-CV includes volunteers from the task force, as well as several additional volunteers from the larger Dobbs Ferry community. People who know a lot more about health issues were needed. Dr. Nitin Gupta, Anna Stern, Zubin Kapadia, and others have joined the STF-CV. The focus of the STF-CV is currently about logistics. The STF-CV has reached out to the school district and to the seniors program to lend assistance in figuring out how to expand the program to provide food, services, and supplies to people in need. Abby Canet, who heads the senior nutrition program, and Kendra and Kyle at Recreation Department have created a Senior Angels program to help community volunteers shop for vulnerable seniors. Molly Rodriguez and others at the food pantry are serving food insecure families. Robin Larkin at Spring and school superintendent Lisa Brady have mapped out ways to support our kids. It is these folks, along with our first responders, who are our heroes without capes. The STF-CV has teamed up with the Downtown Improvement Task Force and the Chamber of Commerce to prepare a list of the stores, restaurants, and businesses that are open and continuing to serve our community, as well as how to contact them and their hours. This is a living list that will be updated as it changes and expands and will be available in a number of places, including on the village's webpage. Businesses can sign up to be included on this list by going to tinyurl.com/Dobbs Open for Business. tinyurl.com/Dobbs Open for Business. If anyone sees an issue that needs to be looked at or has a problem that they are dealing with and needs some help to solve it, please reach out to the STF-CV and we will see what we can do. You can contact the STF-CV at dfcommunityhelper@gmail.com. dfcommunityhelper@gmail.com. As much as we are concerned with helping our business community to survive these times, we also understand how important it is for families to be able to get healthy food and the supplies that will keep them strong as this continues. Stay healthy, safe, and strong.
Okay,
That's
thank
it.
you, Alyssa. Thank you, Patty. And we can, Alyssa, if you could just send that to Liz Draper so she can make it part of the record.
Sure.
Okay, so item number 1 is to consider a motion to appoint Matthew Rosenberg as a member of the Traffic Committee for a term of 1 year as recommended by the nominating committee. Is there a motion? Trustee Cassell, second. Trustee Nell. Any discussion? All in favor?
Can we ask the head of the nominating committee to send us the stuff we used to get with like a blurb as to why they're recommending someone and their CV or application stuff?
Yes, we can do that.
They just sent it directly to you, right, Mayor?
Yes, usually. Like today, today all I really have is just the letter with his.
The last time at the last meeting, it was just, we recommend so-and-so. It didn't,
That's what I have this time as well.
yeah, it needs to go back to the way we changed it last year or 2 years ago.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Okay, thank you. Liz, that passes unanimously. Item number 2, consider a motion to appoint Mr. Edmund Fanning Jr. as a motor equipment operator at an annual salary of $84,426 effective February 1st, 2020. Is there a motion? Trustee Cassell, second. Trustee Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor? That passes unanimously, Liz. Item number 3, consider a motion to approve audits number 3 and 4 for March 2020 as recommended by the village treasurer. Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Sullivan, any discussion? Jeff, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Actually, it's a pretty small audit. I don't think there's a whole lot in there. I didn't get any questions from anybody, so I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, all in favor? That passes unanimously. You have to just give me a second, I'm sorry. Item number 4, consider a resolution to authorize the refunding of 11 serial bonds. Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second trustee Cassell. Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, we're asking to refund 2011 bonds. The interest rates currently, as of, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, it was, the savings would be about $117,000 over 5 years. Maybe it's better now. The rates are almost zero at this point. So it's just an attempt to save the taxpayers some money going forward.
Okay, all in favor? That passes unanimously, Liz. Item number 5, consider a motion authorizing the village administrator to sign a utility billing services agreement with Minol Inc. And that was part of our packet, so we should have reviewed it. Is there a motion? Trustee Cassell, second trustee Taylor. Any discussion? All in favor? That passes unanimously. And item number 6, consider a resolution adopting a home rule request asking the state legislature to adopt Senate Bill S6811 and Assembly Bill A8810 to amend the vehicle and traffic law to authorize the village of Dobbs Ferry to establish maximum speed limits of 20 miles per hour on all or portion of village roads. Is there a motion? Trustee Nell, is there a second? Trustee Patino. So far as discussion goes, we had a public work session on this last time, and it was discussed, and it seemed to be the majority of the board was in favor of it. I will just very quickly read part of the resolution that'll be made part of the record if this passes. And it says, it's a resolution of the Village of Dobbs Ferry Board of Trustees adopting a home rule request asking the state legislature to adopt Assembly Bill number 8810, which will also be the system bill will be S6811. Whereas the Village of Dobbs Ferry is seeking to maximize opportunities to promote the safe shared use of its village streets for the benefit of its residents and the public at large. And whereas one such opportunity is the regulation and enforcement of speed limits lower than those permitted under New York state law. And whereas such lowering of speed limits may only be accomplished by an act of the New York State Legislature, which requires the use of the village's home rule powers. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Dobbs Ferry herein authorizes and directs the village administrator to request New York State legislative action to permit the village to lower speed limits on its streets or portions thereof to a maximum of 20 miles per hour. And be it further resolved, the Board of Trustees does hereby adopt a home rule request asking the state legislature to adopt Assembly Bill number A8810 entitled an act in relation to authorizing the Village of Dobbs Ferry to reduce speed limit to 20 miles per hour. The same version is for the Senate bill, so we would be voting on both. And all in favor?
Well, I just want to make a comment.
Sure.
Yeah. I just want to say that I thought the work session was really helpful. It was really educational. It was good to hear from the chief of police as to how the police feels and how it may or may not impact their ability to do some financial grants and other things they do with other communities. And it was good to hear from Larry Murphy of the traffic committee. We had a robust discussion about what happened. I think it was in Portland and New York City when they did reduce speed limits from 25 to 20. And it does seem to reduce people's speed, and it would give the police the ability to ticket people when they're going 25 miles per hour. But that there really should be strict guidelines in place for how we as a board determine what streets, if it passes the Senate and Assembly and we have the authority to do this, then we should have strict guidelines in place as to what streets should and shouldn't and the criteria that would go into that. And that's something that the traffic committee has agreed to work on. So I'm in favor of the home rule, but I wanted to clarify that those are important pieces of it when it comes back to Dobbs Ferry, if it does.
Yeah, I agree with Nicole that this is something that really has to be looked at. This resolution tonight, and even if the state does pass it, does not mean that we will be doing 20 miles per hour. We may just do in some roads, we may do the entire village, whatever, but there will, Lorelei, correct me if I'm wrong, but we will also be having a public hearing if we do decide to change speed limits on any streets. Is that correct?
That is correct. The speed limit could only be reduced by virtue of a local law. So the traffic committee would be assisting you with the necessary criteria for the review of the proposals of which streets, which portions of streets with locations with specificity. And then you would be able to lower that by local law, which can only be passed by a public hearing.
So this will just give us the opportunity to do it should we need to do it, should we want to do it at some point after the public hearing.
If the home rule request is granted and they it gets out of the various committees and is passed by the state legislature, it becomes the potential. You have the potential to take the action that it provides you with. It doesn't mandate it. It doesn't, but yes, then an extra level of review and establishment of those areas that you find are in need of this will then go forward. So having the traffic committee's input will be essential to establishing that necessary criteria.
Do you know what the time frame for the home ruling might be on something like this?
I could tell you in the world as we knew it, but in terms of the world that we know now, it is impossible to guess how active the committees are at this point, given the fact that they have these other priorities and things pulling them. You know, the members of the Assembly and the Senate are involved with many committees. So I'm not sure that the legislative committee, for purposes of this home rule request, will be meeting its regular schedule. Generally, something as simple as this would go through without too many revisions, and that would be, depending on the sessions, a matter of months. But in this case, it's hard to tell whether the legislature will get to it before the end of the session, whether they'll actually continue with the session, how long the session will be adjourned. There's so many unknowns right now, so I'm afraid I can't give you a definitive, even an educated guess.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
Okay, any other discussion? I agree that we really will have to take a close look at what streets, if any, we decide to lower the speed limit on. So if there isn't any further discussion,
Vinny, I'm sorry, or Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. If I could, I just don't have a tie on, so I had to call you, or neither do you, so I had to
you
call
can
you
still
Vinny.
call me Vinny, that's okay.
But I think, let's not forget too, that there are many other things that the village has done and is going to continue to do. When we talked about the budget last night, there are other mitigation methods to control traffic that may be more effective than lowering the speed limit in certain areas. So we certainly aren't going to give up on those. And so this isn't the only tool that we have.
Correct, you're absolutely right. We have a lot of other effective tools that we have been using and spending thousands of dollars on in the past to do. So we will continue to look at those.
And just a reminder, this would not apply to any portion of Broadway. Route 9 is a state road, and you can continue to press your requests for safe measures to be added to Route 9, but this will not permit you to lower the speed limit on Route 9 at all.
Right, thank you for
Same
that.
with Ashford, right? Because it's county.
Correct, and Ashford has already been lowered. At this point, I guess you'd have to renew efforts to get the county to lower it even further. Yes.
Vince, Mr. Mayor, I would like to add that our police department has done an outstanding job since they established the the similar different programs that I know the chief have worked on. So there is a combination of things that I think that we will look at that had worked and will continue, I'm sure, to work for us to enforce and create more safety around the village.
Yes. Anything else? Okay, so all in favor? And that's unanimous, Liz. So on to our next agenda item, which is the resolution pertaining to the first responders. I'm sorry for the late notice on that, but I did email that to you guys about an hour or two ago. So I'd like a motion. Is there a motion to pass this resolution?
Can you just explain it?
Yeah, I was going to read the resolution. Based upon the fact that the president has declared a national emergency, which was done on March 13th. And on March 18th, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which was passed, which was a temporary expansion of the FMLA, was passed. And the act is due to take effect no later than April 2nd. The act permits employers, including public employers, to exclude emergency responders and healthcare providers from the applicable FMLA and emergency paid leave provisions of the act. So basically, under the FMLA law, which is the Family and Medical Leave Act, people had 12 weeks of sick time that they were entitled to, depending on how many hours they had worked the year before. What this act is doing is we're exempting the emergency responders from the applicable FMLA requirements. So we're going to exclude the police, fire, and ambulance departments from the normal FMLA requirements. Any further discussion on that?
I don't know, maybe I'm just not getting it. What does that mean effectively, that instead of 12 weeks, they can have 16 weeks or?
Well, at this time, it's exempting them from any of that. So any of the time that they use towards, as a result of being sick from the coronavirus, will not go towards their FMLA time.
Okay.
They won't be charged for their FMLA time.
So
So
it
this-
provides them, I'm sorry, more flexibility than, rather than less, is that correct?
Oh, much more flexibility, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Laura Lee, you want to shed some light on that?
Sure, because this is a federal statute. It does expand the number of days and the ability of your emergency responders who are most likely on the front lines and coming into contact with the virus. It provides them the ability to take the time they need to quarantine, for example, if it's mandatory and they don't have to apply for and be granted FMLA and have, because you're only given so many FMLA hours and days under the law. So this
Okay.
allows that to be exempt from your FMLA.
Well, and it should be noted that we are reserving the right to modify or terminate this resolution at any time. So if things should happen that are unforeseeable, then we do have the right to terminate or modify this agreement at any time, resolution at any time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there a motion? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee DeRozzi, all in favor? And that passes unanimously, Liz. And the last resolution, if I can find it, would be just simply a payment, authorizing Charlene to make a payment regarding the cleaning of the village hall and the village building. As you know, we've had the village cleaned at least once, maybe even more than that. So we had to, it's not subject to the normal bidding process because of the emergency. So I did send everyone a copy of the work authorization, I believe, or the resolution. I can't seem to find it. Laura Lee, do you have it in front of you?
Yes, this allows the payment to that company that you, at the top of the hour that we
Armor.
Armor. This is additional work under an addendum to an existing contract that you have. It permits more frequent, higher levels of sanitation, and those kinds of things on an emergency basis. It's an addendum that they'll be able to be paid for the work they're doing in addition to the standard contract terms.
Right, so it's going to be disinfecting, it's going to be cleaning, it's going to be disposal of waste. And the proposal is to do Village Hall public areas, Village Hall basement at the senior facility, Village Hall administrative offices and boardroom, make sure they get the boardroom, court offices, the Memorial Park office, the fire department offices, the DPW office, the police department, for a total square footage of $9,950. Their fee for that was $3,549. So is there a motion?
I apologize, but are we leaving out the ambulance corps and the fire department facilities where there is a lot of activity?
Let me look at that. The proposal does, yeah, it doesn't mention that at all. It just mentions, like I said, Village Hall public areas, Village Hall basement, senior facility, Village Hall administrative offices, boardroom, court offices, Memorial Park office, fire department offices, DPW office, the police department. So that's a good point. I think we should.
There may be other provisions for doing that. I'm not, but maybe could we amend this to include such other?
But Larry, when we talked with the fire chiefs, they wanted the fire offices, their chief's offices. Otherwise, I believe they're, I can check with them, but I believe they're taking care of it on their own.
I guess what I was
Same
going
for the EMS? Is that the same for EMS?
Right, so the EMS is not mentioned at all in this, so I think.
I believe it's gonna be the same deal. Our agreement with the ambulance is to provide limited items. You know, it's like some maintenance and utilities.
Okay, so you're
We can-
saying you
we
think
can
it's
Certainly
their
talk with them
responsibility.
and find out.
Vinny, is
I
this
guess-
a one-time thing, or is it possible that this may have to be done again, in a few weeks?
So I can answer that. They were in this past Friday to clean the whole, everything that was, that community read. We're gonna have that back in for the police department, I think this week. Cause they're active 24/7, they're basically empty at this point. Basically empty at this point. So, they will be back in again.
I think what Jeff was saying, that they will be doing it again. Is that, Jeff, it's very hard to hear you, so I think that's right. Is that what you're saying? That you,
Is there a way that we could expand this to give the village administrator and mayor the ability to also clean other public facilities as needed, assuming that they agree to do so?
I think this is an authorization for payment for services that have already been done. So that addendum you adopted at the beginning of the meeting allows you to enter into this agreement. And then I believe the work authorization is for this round. And that addendum will allow you to do work authorizations going forward. So this particular work authorization is just for those 9,000 square feet. that were
Right.
listed.
But can we then have can the village have places cleaned that need to be cleaned and then we authorize it after the fact?
You've just authorized the addendum at the beginning, which permits you to enter into a contract with the provider. And now this work authorization is for this round. And going forward, there'll be more work authorizations under that addendum that you've already authorized. That's
I just want to make sure that
understanding.
decisions that we're making for the fire department facilities, for the ambulance corps, are being made on the basis of what's right to do, and that this isn't going to create a constraint on the ability for the administrator and mayor to say, let's spend some money to make sure that we're in the right spot.
Actually, the resolution itself says, whereas the village intends to contract for certain upgraded services with the intention of maximizing such ability, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby ratifies the execution of an addendum to its agreement with Armor Environmental to upgrade the cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting services currently provided by contract. So that would seem to me that it does permit us, and certainly Charlene, to authorize further sanitizing and disinfecting services.
Good.
That's how I intended it. I drafted it that way specifically, and then you're now authorizing a work authorization under the addendum that you've now adopted.
Thank you.
Okay.
They're two separate things. I don't think it constrains you. I think what it does is it provides you an opportunity to do what
Good.
needs to be done.
So
Thank
should I
you.
expand? I shouldn't necessarily expand the motion then, or you think this is fine?
No, because you're talking about something that already happened, correct?
It's
It sounds
work-
like we're covered. That's all that I wanted to be sure of.
Yes, I think Jeff had asked to sign it earlier in the week so they could get going, and this ratifies that addendum. Is that correct, Jeff?
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a motion to pass? There you are. Okay. Is there a motion to ratify this agreement and to give Jeff the authority to pay the bill, and in the future to authorize her to go forward with it? Is there a motion? Trustee Nell, second. Trustee DeRozzi. Any further discussion? All in favor? So Liz, that passes unanimously. Okay, that moves on. We move on to the minutes. Anybody review the minutes? Anybody have questions or comments? There being none, is there a motion to approve the minutes? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee DeRozzi. Any discussion? None. All in favor? Liz, that passes unanimously.
I wasn't there. I didn't vote.
Oh, okay. So make sure, Liz, you get that. Trustee, oh, and actually Trustee Casal wasn't there either.
I mean, Lori Lee keeps telling us we can vote even if we weren't there because it doesn't matter. I'm not voting.
All
It's
right.
up to you.
And Trustee Casal, are you voting? She's not voting. So you could just say it passed 5-2, Liz. I don't have any real announcements other than to say that everything in the village, as far as the village hall is closed, but the library is closed. Seniors are continuing to be fed by Abby Kinnett and the rec department. So is there anything else anybody wants to announce? Anything want to say?
I just, as you said it at the beginning, just want to thank all our emergency service personnel for the fabulous job they're doing. And our village staff has so stepped up in this time, that great kudos to them and to the rec department and Abby and Elisa and Charlene and everybody who is, and Jen and DPW. I mean, all these people have done a tremendous, tremendous amount of extra work, and we're very grateful for them.
Yeah, anything else, anybody?
I have something, Mr. Mayor. I just want to remind everybody about the census. I know that there is so much going on out there and it has kind of shifted our attention, but it is very crucial that we participate on the census. I've been posting things on Facebook on 10522 in reference to the mayor's newsletter and the announcements of the village. More than ever, you want to be connected to the village now and know what we are doing and what is happening in the village. So I encourage everybody to please sign up and get the information directly from us.
That's a really good point about the census. Actually, I did it on Saturday and it took literally 10 minutes. So that's a good point. I also want to thank you, Trustee DeRozzi, for doing all the translating work that you've been doing. And you're probably going to be doing more of that because I don't see a near end to this. So thanks for taking the time to do that. We appreciate it. And I know it's been posted and it will be continue to be posted and distributed. So thank you for the extra effort that you've done for that. We appreciate it. So.
My pleasure.
I think that we should all thank you, Vinny, for all that you've done in during these crises and keeping us all calm and safe and informed with the village staff.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yes.
it. So.
Yes.
Great job, Vin.
So I think I've spoken to you guys more than I have in the last 2 years. So it's an ongoing experience, and hopefully we get the kinks out of these meetings, and next time it'll go a little smoother. I apologize for it. So if there's nothing further, I can take a motion to close the meeting. Trustee Casal, second Trustee Nell, all in favor? And that passes. And good night, stay safe, and we'll be in touch.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.